G'day listeners, you're listening to the weekly Dartscast podcast with your co-host Alex Moss and Burton DeWitt. Here in Australia, we like to call something bonzo if it's awesome or it's great. So when you listen to the weekly Dartscast, you're listening to a bonzo show. They have amazing guests, awesome interviews, and they'll give you all the ins and outs of the darts that you'll need this week. So sit back, relax, and it's time to get into it. Oh, check that out. 180. You beauty, mate.
Hello and welcome to an episode of the weekly Dartscast. I'm Alex Moss and joining me is, of course, my co-host, a man who is as smooth as the silkiest Belgian chocolate. Burton DeWitt, how are you doing?
Oh, dear me. Well, I was doing well until that introduction. But no, I'm still doing all right. It is Dartsmith after all. How are you, Alex?
Yeah, I'm doing good too, and credit to Stuart Pike for that line from commentary earlier in the week. The World Championship is still going on. We've got to the end of the second round. We're now into the Christmas break, and we're going to be looking back on Monday to Thursday's play this week. And starting off with a popular segment of the show, it's back, the Rob Cross Appreciation Minute. Rob winning the battle of the former world champions tonight against Raymond van Barneveld. What did you make of the game?
Well, it's one where the stats don't tell the entire story. And if you look, they both averaged in the low 90s. But it was a better game than that. And the reason they were averaged that low is a bunch of missed darts at double and critical moments back at each other. And then just some poor legs thrown in there by both of them. But you take that out, it was a very enthralling match and at times a really high quality match. Not as high as they might have been playing had they played 5 years ago, but still a good match. I was impressed, though, by Rob Cross and how he was able to come back after that first set. And at the end, Barney had nothing left in the fourth set. But the first three sets of that match were competitive, but Cross lifted his game, especially in the key moments, and that's why he got up on top. He'll have to improve from that if he's going to win a second world title. But there's every reason to think he will. He's been playing well for the last few months, and to get a win over Barney from behind like that, I think will do him the world of good. It was a good end to what was a very good start to this tournament, and I'm curious to see what Rob Cross does next round against Daryl Gurney. But I thought it was a good match, and in the end, the better player on the night won.
Can't argue with that. It was a good win for Rob. And considering the start to the night for him with the walk-ons, that the crowd were booing him and they're all in support of Barney, weren't they? And that the first set, Barney was playing some great stuff, wasn't he? The 180s, the 170 finish as well. And then to finish off that first set, which was against the throw, Rob Cross had the throw in that first set, does it with a 13 darter. To take the first set, he was averaging in the high 90s. Rob was averaging in the high 70s. So he really didn't get going. But after that break, comes back, wins the next three sets, and really that second set is the one when Rob started to flex his muscles, if you like, and okay, he dipped after that, but you kind of felt Raymond's shoulders dropped a little bit, and Rob knew, he even said it in his interview afterwards, between the second and the third sets, he knew that he had his man and he was able to get the job done. But that second set, the 103 average in the set, the three checkouts as well, the 68, the 128, the 93, pausing on the double like we know he does, but coming back and hitting the doubles as well. And that's a Rob Cross that's playing with confidence when he is coming back, hitting those doubles after the pauses. The double 18 as well seemed to go for him more often than not. I know he missed quite a few doubles for him, 10 out of 26. Raymond was 6 out of 28. So they both know they can do better than that. But in the key moments, Rob Cross was getting the doubles when he had to. He had a couple of legs that he finished on double one, but he took those two legs and Barney didn't take his chances when they came. And then towards the end of the game, we saw Rob finish it pretty comfortably, 3-0 in that last set. So it was a good win, I think, to come back. And as you say, I think the averages don't really tell the story of how good a game this was. Okay, it dropped off towards the end, but it was some good stuff in those first few sets. And we see how much the crowd makes this tournament, having that atmosphere, whether they're booing the players or cheering the players. It does add to the excitement of the tournament, and as a viewer watching at home as well. So yeah, for Rob, he's got through to the next round, and it's a tough quarter of the draw that he's in. He said it himself as well. All of the seeded players coming through to that last 32, and Daryl Gurney up next for him, Gary Anderson or Ian White. It's a tough section of the draw for him to get to the quarterfinals.
Now, 32 matches have been played since we last spoke on Sunday night. That's, of course, one more than you'll see the entire week at the World Match Play in Blackpool. But from those 32 matches, if any players caught your eye?
Well, I'll give a quick nod to a couple of the youngsters, and we're looking at games after the game between Johnny Clayton and Keane Barry, which finished the Sunday night. But that was another game where we had a youngster really impress and push Johnny Clayton all the way in that one. But I want to mention a couple of other youngsters. One that we've just seen when we're recording this, Rusty Jake Rodriguez. Okay, he was 2-0 up and let it go against Chris Dobie, came back and won that one 3-2. But he had a 93 average in his first game, won that one 3-1 against Ben Robb, which was a competitive game. And Louis Williams as well. He had a 93 average on debut, got through his first round 3-0, and okay, he dipped in the second round quite a bit against Gabriel Clemens, but it was nice to see those three players, three of the young players come to the Ali Pali stage and get wins. It was nice to see. But looking beyond those people, I mean, got to start with two names in particular, and that is Michael Smith, a 106 average in his first game of the tournament. He was 9 out of 12 on the doubles, 10 out of 13 if you're including those two double 19s. It was a pretty good effort from him on his first appearance at Ali Pali, and this is from someone who, of course, has gone all the way to the final a few years ago now, but the last couple of years he's gone out in his first game, so he was delighted to get through that first hurdle and to do it in the fashion that he did. And this is courtesy of the Red Bit on Twitter, 121 average in that third set, which I believe was the highest at that point. Not sure if it still is, but that takes some doing. But another player I've got to mention, Florian Hempel. What a performance that was on Tuesday night, I think it is. I'm losing track of the days now. But to beat Dimitri van den Berg, who averaged 101, he's got to be one of the most unlucky players at Ali Pali the last couple of years. But Florian Hempel on his debut got past Martin Schindler, comes back to play the fifth seed Dimitri, 11 darter to break in that decider in the first set. Dimitri comes back with an outstanding second set to win it 3-0, and you're thinking maybe he's got his man, the experience is going to tell here. But from 1-0 down in that third set, what a run we saw from Florian Hempel. 6 out of 7 on the doubles. He had a 104, an 89, 100, an 86, a 64, all them combination finishes. He was taking them, and that really did break Dimitri towards the end, and we didn't think he was going to miss. So, yeah, Florian has definitely caught the eye this week. Michael Smith as well, the youngsters, as I mentioned. And, just a word on some of the comebacks that we've seen this week as well. 3 players coming from, well, now 4 with Chris Dobie, but the 3 before then, Mervyn King, 2-0 down against Ryan Joyce, comes back and wins 9 legs in a row. Alan Suter today, when we're recording, 2-0 down, comes back and beats Mensa Suljovic 6-4 in a tiebreak with a 144 checkout. And the last one of those, Jose de Souza, who had a barrage from Jason Lowe in the first couple of sets, somehow finds a way to come back. So, yeah, there's been a lot of people catching the eye this week.
I think you stole my notebook and just read everything I had written down. Although you did leave me one person to discuss that you didn't say. So I'll start with him. Callan Ritz averaged, well, first Brendan Dolan averaged over 100 against him, but Callan Ritz averaged 102, barely gave Dolan a sniff in that match. It was it's a battle between a good 102 for Ritz and a bad 100 for Dolan, because Dolan barely got darts a double in that, and it was just a comprehensive win in all facets of the game. Callan Ritz really looked the real deal in that, and has established himself now as one of the players to beat going forward. Maybe not this tournament. There might be players who have that little bit more experience than he does, especially as we get to those longer matches. But he has shown that as we enter 2022, the next couple years, he is one of those players on the up who will be going deep in more tournaments than he doesn't. And just another impressive performance. You mentioned Michael Smith, the highest average of the tournament so far. The big question for him is, can he put back up that performance? Because we've seen it before from him where he has matches like that. The reason, though, he hasn't lifted a major title yet, or one of the reasons, is because he hasn't had a full tournament like that. He's capable. He's more than capable, but he was very impressive in that first match. I won't talk about Florian Hempel now because I'm going to be talking about him later on one of our other questions. Also was impressive. And you mentioned all those comebacks from 2 sets down, Mervyn King reeling off 9 legs on the spin, Alan Suter surviving 8-match darts against Mensa Suljovic, and keeping his cool to come back and win that match was very impressive. And then, of course, Jose de Sousa was 2 sets down, but still looked the better player at that point. And it was just a really good all-around performance from Jose, and starting to show a return to that form that we saw all of last year in the first half of this year. Trying to think if there's anyone else that you didn't say that I can throw out. I'll give a shout out to both of the Aussies, Raymond Smith. Devon Petersen didn't show up, but Raymond Smith clinical again. And Damon Haddock just did really well against Luke Woodhouse, who missed some doubles, but Damon Haddock created and then took all of his chances in that match to set up a very tasty third-round tie against the world number 2.
Now move on to our first guest on this week's show, and it is with one of the players who's through to the last 32 of the PDC World Championship for the first time next week. Here's our chat with the guru, Raymond Smith.
I'm pleased to say we're joined once again by the guru, one of 2 Australian players left in this year's PDC World Championship, Raymond Smith. Thanks for the time, Raymond. How are you doing?
Yeah, very good. Yourself?
Doing well, thank you. And firstly, when we first spoke at the start of last week, you said that you loved your food and you and Kai were planning to see what was on offer in England. What's been the food that you've had so far that you've enjoyed the most?
Probably some of the home cooked stuff's been good. We got a few different cuts of meats and cheeses over here than we do home. So, but we've gone out. We've experienced some of the food, but nothing like home. But
well, we'll get onto your darts in a moment. But I wanted to first mention your son Kai, who made his debut on Sunday. How did he reflect on that first experience at Ali Pali?
Yeah, it was very upbeat and very positive. So very really happy with that. We had a few things that we identified very early on in the conversation that when we get home we're going to work on. But yeah, some of the things that I've kind of sort of been saying to him for a while, so of course got hit home. So everything there in that space is very, very positive.
Yeah, you mentioned in one of your interviews you were looking at the positives from Kai's game and in particular his technique as well. I mean, how proud a moment was it to watch your son play on that stage?
Yeah, it was brilliant. Just to see him. I was really concerned about it. It was his first time in a major tournament on stage, on TV, and I think I said in the interview, you can either play on TV or you can't, and he could. His technique was good. It was just probably a little bit of noise in his own head when he was playing that sort of undone him.
Well, you also said that you and Kai would both be getting a tattoo to mark the occasion, the first father and son to play in the same World Championship. Did you get that sorted yet?
Yeah, that got done yesterday.
Happy days. Well, let's get on to your run so far at Ali Pali. Wins over Jamie Hughes and Devon Petersen. I remember our last chat, you mentioned the 170 finishes with Kyle Anderson in the exhibitions. You had a 1-2-1 going for the bull against Devon when he wasn't on a finish. Do you just love a bull finish?
No, that's the way we're taught to play. And I said in the interview I was on 124, and I thought I'll go for the setup. But yeah, and I just lost the intensity. If I'm on 121 in that scenario, and the other time I hit the 61st dart, I'll go for the 45. Because I can keep that aggression in the shot. But as soon as you sort of shy away from a shot when it's on, you lose all that intensity, and at the time I was flat, so I just wanted to try and perk myself up, and we're always taught that if you've got a shot for the bull, you take the shot for the bull, whether you're 300 in front or you try and maintain a higher standard and a high energy level. And if you're hitting those shots early on in the game when you don't need to, you're feeling pretty confident coming into those shots when you do need it.
Well, we're definitely enjoying watching you do it, and I've enjoyed watching your interviews during the event as well. A lot more media attention after each win. How have you found that side of it all?
Yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, everyone's sort of fairly respectful. Some people last time got asked me questions that was sort of not relevant to the whole darts side of things, and everyone's interested to hear about the story of last time I was here and when I quit and all that sort of stuff and the reasons why, and but that has an impact as well. That's bringing up a few wounds that haven't fully healed yet. But at the same time, I've had a lot of messages on social media, saying thanks and all that for having the courage to speak about it. And so it's very different. It's a double-edged sword. I mean, of course, you get your trolls and all that sort of jazz and what have you. Just give them a little thumbs up on their post. But that's about it.
Well, I was going to mention the support because you're flying the flag for Australia with Damon Heta. He won today as well. What's the support been like from family and friends back home?
Yeah, it's been amazing. Some of the friends messaged me and they've got a watching party and all that sort of stuff. And it's 2 o'clock at home. We've got mates with their tablets set up and their work utes and all that sort of stuff. So it's getting a lot of attention back home, which is fantastic.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that as well. I mean, your first 2 games so far, they have been at very different times, haven't they? The first round you were first up in the afternoon. Your second round you were last up in the evening session. So what is the difference like time-wise for those following you back home?
Yeah, so last time it was 10:30 at night. So, by the time I finish, everyone's going to bed at their normal time. Whereas this one's 8:30, I think it was 8:30 in the morning. So everyone's on their way to work or at work. And, so it was a little bit of a time mismatch. But, people are still watching, so...
Yeah, that's always good. You said you had a plan in place as well if you got to the third round that you'd stay in England over Christmas, of course, but how much organising did you have to do after you beat Devon in the second round to make sure that everything was set for the rest of this week and going into next week?
Yeah, look, it was pretty smooth. The Airbnb we're in was booked out after the 25th, so we booked through to the 24th. We've already moved up to our new accommodation, so we're in today. Everything's settled, so it's it was all over in about 3/4 of an hour.
Happy days. And you mentioned as well that you spoke to the media after your last game about the tragedy that happened in your family. Did you think you'd ever get back to Ali Pali and get as far as you have already? Because you said that you had that break from darts.
Yeah, look, I mean, if you had asked me in June if I'd be even playing serious darts at that, then I would have said no. This definitely wasn't on the cards. It wasn't part of the plan. And look, to be perfectly honest, if Kai wasn't here, I probably wouldn't have come. So, yeah, it's kind of sort of a very different scenario because, I've always loved darts, loved playing darts, but the serious side of things sort of takes too much out of me. But no, everything at the moment's just working. I'm in a really good space with it all.
Glad to hear it. And you're in a quarter of the draw. I'm sure you know it's been blown wide open with the 2 high seeds, Dimitri van der Berg, Christoph Ratajski, both going out. How excited are you to be in the mix with Florian Hempel, Mervyn King, Steve Lennon all vying for that spot in the quarterfinals?
Yeah, I don't really think that too far ahead. I'm trying to look at my own game and my own numbers. If I take care of what I do, then the rest will take care of itself. Either way, if I win, happy days. If I don't, then hopefully I'll put up a good show. And that's all I'm focused on, one game at a time, one leg at a time. I'm not thinking if I win this game, then who do I play next? And I got asked the question, I think the other day, that if I win the next game and then the one after that, then I get an automatic tour card. And so, we'll... even if that is a possibility, I won't even look at thinking about that until February. So it's, I'm not I don't think too far ahead.
That's fair enough. Well, I found it interesting when you said as well that you like to look at the stats of your next opponent, not something that we hear too many players say. Is that something that you've done for a while, or is it only events like the World Championship when there are more stats available?
No, I look and it's very, very different because I like to know where I am and what I'm doing, and then how I match up against other players. So I'm not a prolific 180 scorer. So if someone's a prolific 180 scorer, I'm looking at what their 180 ratios are compared to their average. So the Jamie Hughes game, he's a really strong scorer, but he's on about three to four darts to peg. So when he's scoring well and he's got 2 darts at a double, and I've got 3 darts at a double coming back, I'm fairly confident statistically I'll have a shot. If not, then he's having a good game. Fair play, happy days. So it takes the stress out of my game. I don't have to chase at any point because I'm not thinking about the next shot. I've got to hit this on the next shot to stay in the game. And I'm looking at statistically between the 12 and 15 dart mark.
And are there things that you've noticed while you've been on stage in those first couple of games that you've seen from, I guess, that research that has actually happened in the games?
Yeah, so I know, like the Devon Petersen game, Devon finishes legs very, very quickly. So his first 9 is comparable to his second 9. So, when his first 9's not on, normally his second 9 will pick it up a little bit. So if he's not on it in the first 9, I was trying to make hay while the sun was shining. Indeed, to get me that few darts extra at the double. Unfortunately, on the night, I didn't need it. But so it's all worked. So I haven't panicked yet. I've been pretty calm, and the numbers are working for me. Everything's working for me. The plan's going well. Yeah,
we've seen you calm on stage. Your next opponent as well, Florian Hempel, in the third round on Monday. He pulled off the win against Dimitri, the match before yours against Devon. Did you see much of it when you were preparing for your game, or did you make of it?
No, it was really good to watch. It was it's really exciting to see more talent coming through the ranks. I was chatting to my manager about it the other day. I says it should be a really, really good game. I just hope that he's got some good heads around him, because the worst part about making it to the third round and from nowhere, and people will start to heap all that expectation and that pressure on him. It's like, I'm hoping. Obviously he's going to manage himself, and he's played an elite sport at a high level before. I just hope they don't muck around too much with all the negative stuff, and we just get up and have a good game.
Fingers crossed for that. And I forgot to ask you the last time that we spoke about your nickname, the Guru. Where did it come from?
So a guy named Jimmy Shannon, he called me the Guru, because any sport we talk about, I don't like. I like to look at the mechanics, the biomechanics of things, the mental game. It doesn't matter what we're playing. I'm watching people that do it better than me, and trying to understand how it all works, and then the synergy between the mental and physical game, and then how practice comes into it, and what people practice and how they practice, and you go read all the books on these elite athletes and all that sort of stuff, and then come back and answer a question that nobody really cared about in the first place.
Well, lastly, but before we let you go, you're going to be spending Christmas in the UK. I'm assuming it'll be your first here in the UK, but are you going all in on the British Christmas traditions, or are there going to be any Australian traditions that you're going to try and keep up as well?
Yeah, no, this is my second Christmas here, so we have somebody that we're going to Christmas lunch with. So they said that they put on a big feed, so I'm hoping I get a little bit of everything. Be pretty keen to see what they've got.
Excellent. Well, look forward to that, and look forward to your next game against Florian Hempel on Monday. Congratulations on the run that you've had so far, and we're all looking forward to that game on Monday, and wish you all the best for it.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks again to Raymond for joining us. Now more chat about the World Championship, the second quarter, which has got all of your dark horses. Burton is wide open, but is this James Wade, who is the fourth seed, his best chance now to reach a fourth World Championship semi-final?
Not if he plays like he did in the second round, but I don't think anyone would expect him to play like he did in the second round, because that was one of the worst performances I've ever seen from James Wade on the big stage. Granted, at times he did look like Wade. He picked his moments, and there were so many legs that he just didn't contest, and that's why he averaged below 84. But at the same time, he was handed that match by Mike Kuyvenhoven, who just didn't perform either. Will Wade pick it up against Vincent? You think so? It's hard to imagine he would get worse. But there's a lot of players in this section that, yes, it's wide open, but that's because all of these players are very good and very capable on their day. And I don't think James Wade will make the semifinals. I don't even think he's going to make the quarterfinals. Assuming he gets past Vincent, I'm going Joe Cullen to upset him. I think this is a big opportunity for Cullen. Cullen's another one of those players who I meant to mention on the last question. He really did impress me against Jim Williams in that match. Jim Williams threw everything at him, and Cullen took the punches early on and then came back and won that match. I think this is Cullen's year. Even if it's not in this tournament, this upcoming year is his year. He is going to get that breakthrough, and it might just happen here at Alley Valley. I think he'll knock out James Wade. But I don't think Cullen is going to make the semifinals. I'm going to leave that to the next question. But I'm going to say no, it's not Wade's year because I think Cullen will beat him.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. I mean, the odds have been slashed on James Wade. I'm not quite sure where he is at the moment, but to get him into the semi-finals, I'm sure they're a lot shorter now after seeing the two high seeds beyond him in that section of the draw. Dimitri Van den Berg and Krzysztof Ratajski both go out in their first games, but as you say, there's still a lot of work to do for James Wade to get through. And yes, you would expect James Wade to average higher in his next game against Vincent van der Voort, and perhaps Vincent van der Voort as well. 89 average he had in his game against Adam Hunt. Both players can pick up their game. We are in for a good tie, that one, and it is going to be a repeat of a World Championship tie that we've seen twice before. James Wade winning both of those 4-0, 4-0. So Vincent will have revenge on his mind, and he's been playing well the last few years. There was talk of him retiring a few years ago, but he has had a bit of a renaissance, if you like, and these are the opportunities that he'll want to take. He'll want to have a big run at the World Championship. I'm sure the crowd will be behind him with that epic walk-on that he always has. So, yes, it's a good opportunity for Vincent to have a deep run. But looking at James Wade, there are some hurdles to overcome. I think, as you say, Joe Cullen, if he gets past Martijn Kleermaker in his next game, that is going to be a really tasty fourth-round tie in the last 16 between James, if he gets through, or Vincent. And then you're looking at that next section of the draw, which has really opened up after those two seeds have fallen out. But I think all four of those players will really fancy it now. You've just heard from one of them, Raymond Smith. He said he's not looking that far ahead to the quarterfinals, and who can blame him? The strategy, the preparation, what he's put in for this tournament, game by game, it's definitely working, isn't it? Because he has impressed, and he's the only international qualifier to make it through to the third round of the tournament this year. So he'll fancy it. Florian Hempel, of course, he's going to, after knocking out Dimitri. And then the other two players, Steve Lennon, who has come through a couple of games already, Madars Razma and Krzysztof Ratajski, and Mervyn King, as we've said, he's had that great comeback against Ryan Joyce. All four of those, I don't think you'd be surprised if either of those four now get through to that quarterfinal. But for James Wade, a lot of work to do, and I think we'll know more answers after this next game against Vincent.
Now, the order of play is out for the third round after Christmas across 5+ sessions, because one match will share with two of the fourth round matches. But if Eddie Hearn were to come to you today and offer you a VIP ticket to any of those sessions, which would you choose?
Well, I don't think I'd have much choice. I'd take any ticket that he could offer me, but it is a toss-up for me between the Tuesday evening and the Wednesday afternoon. The Tuesday evening, we've got the Appreciation Minute against the Handicapper's Nightmare, Rob Cross against Daryl Gurney, Peter Wright against Damon Heta. And you've said in our preview shows you fancy Damon Heta to have a good run and really test Peter Wright. And I agree. I think that one is going to be a tight one. And then you've got the last game of that session. We now know it's going to be Michael Van Gerwen against Chris Dobie. And for the most part of that game that Chris Dobie just had against Rusty Jake Rodriguez, it was Rusty Jake pulling out the big celebrations. But at the end, we saw a few from Chris Dobie. So I'm really looking forward to that one. And if Chris can turn up and play his A game, I think he's going to give Michael a really good go. So that session has got the potential for 3 close games. And then the Wednesday afternoon, Jose de Sousa against Alan Suter, the two players that have just come from 2 sets down in back-to-back games to get through to this stage. Alan Suter's having a great debut, and Jose, the player that you've backed to get to the final, that's going to be a really tight one, I think. And I think the other two are going to go close as well. Dave Chisnell against Luke Humphreys. They had a really tight game at the UK Open quarterfinals, which Luke came through on the way to get into the final. And then Nathan Aspinall, Callum Ridds. As you touched on, Callum had one of his best performances ever on stage, especially the World Championship, going up against Nathan Aspinall, who had to come from behind as well. We don't know the injury problems that he's got at the moment, but if he's not 100%, even if he is at 100% though, if Callum can turn up like he did in the last game, that's got the potential of a 7-setter. So for me, Eddie, I don't mind if you want to give me a ticket to both the sessions, I'll be happy. But one of those two, Tuesday evening or Wednesday afternoon, I'd gladly turn up.
Why not shoot for all 6 while you're at it? Yeah, I think on paper, you do have to start with the one that you started with Tuesday evening, because you have the 2018 world champion, the 2020 world champion, and then finishing off the night, squeezing in between those 2 years, the 2019 world champion. And all of them have potential banana skins. I mean, Daryl Gurney not playing at the level he did a few years ago, but on the road back. And he's a two-time major champion. Damon Head is a televised title winner in the PDC and is one of those players who, like Callan Ritz, I think is going to have a big breakthrough year next year. And Chris Dobie, likewise, I don't know how he's just barely in the top 32, finally won a title and seems to be coming into his own. Impressive comeback against Rusty Jake Rodriguez. All of them, if they play, can, well, not just cause problems, but win those matches. That could be a very, very good session. I'll discuss one other one, though, that you didn't discuss. Actually, I'll discuss two others that you didn't discuss. I mean, you have to also look at Monday evening when you have, well, arguably the two best players in the world right now in Gerwyn Price and Johnny Clayton. You also have James Wade, who we just talked about, who, okay, did not look the part in his first match, but is the world number 4. So you have 3 of the top 8 in the world, including arguably the 2 biggest favorites to win this title in Gerwyn Price and Johnny Clayton. And Vincent van der Voort can upset James Wade. Kim Huybrechts didn't look likely to beat Gerwyn Price in the way he played the first match, but who knows what Gerwyn Price we will see. And then last match, Gabriel Clemens, he only knocked out Peter Wright last year, who was the defending world champion at the time and had every chance to repeat. Now he goes against Johnny Clayton, who, okay, is not the defending world champion, but is the best player in the world right now, or the second best player in the world right now. That could be a real opportunity for Gabriel Clemens to prove that last year wasn't a fluke and to continue his push towards the top 16. It would be a major upset because Clayton is playing that well, but Clayton could have lost that match. He was 2-1 down and just had to play his best game in order to get into this. And I'll also give a shout out to that Monday afternoon session, the first session back. It's not the sexiest on paper, but I'm really looking forward to it. And it's one that I wouldn't mind going to. You have Ross Smith, who's on the up going against Dirk van Dijvenbode. Follow that up, Michael Smith, who had the performance of the first round, but he goes against potential banana skin and Willie O'Connor. Willie O'Connor has and can and has caused problems for so many players over the past decade. No reason to believe he won't come out from Christmas and give Michael Smith a real tough match. And then you have what is a really enticing final match in Florian Hempel, who I've talked about a couple times already, and I'll talk about later even more. Florian Hempel, one of the players of the tournament so far, but so is Raymond Smith. And Raymond Smith is just 2 wins away from getting a tour card, something to play for from him. And for Florian Hempel, trying to just keep going further in what is already a breakthrough tournament from him, but can become so much more. I think that session is quietly a very interesting one.
And now move on to our final guest on this week's show. It is a chat with the legend of Devon County Darts and the mentor for Ryan Searle. Here's our chat with Trevor Perry.
I'm pleased to say I'm joined by the man known as Mr. Devon and Ryan Searle's mentor, Trevor Perry. Thanks for the time, Trevor. How are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you very much.
Well, before we get on to Ryan Searle and his current run in the World Championship, let's start with yourself, going back to the 1970s as a teenager. You first started playing darts, is that right?
That's correct, yes. I was 14 years old when I began. Used to play in my bedroom, and then I progressed to playing in a friend's house. Both him and I, eventually, when it came to, ended up playing for Devon, but that's another story. But we separated. We parted when he married a girl from another town, and I just went on my merry way. I was taken, I suppose, under the wings of a couple of people that were well-known players in my local Petersen town, and basically they to me, you can't teach anybody the game, but you can always give people the right sort of encouragement. You can't tell them how to play the game, but everybody to me is completely different from the perspective of whether they've got a different set of darts, different stance, different way they throw. I'm a bit of an anorak like that, so I stand and watch people, or I sit and watch people, and I analyse the way they throw, the way they hold their darts. I know it's a bit sad, but that's the type of person I am. I'm a 100% darter, always have been, and I love the game. So that's how it all began. I eventually played something like about a season and a half of Super League before I was noticed and selected for county. And I've got picked for Devon for my very first game in February 1981, and that was away to Pembrokeshire. I was a nervous wreck when up there to play. At the time we played over the best 3 legs. The men's B team, that's what I was selected for. The men's B team played over the best 3 legs, and I eventually managed to win, getting a mental suit of it, still 14-8 to win it. To win the game, to win my very first game. That sticks right out of my mind. I can clearly remember the day, the time, where I was stood to, and all that. It's just a thing that will stick on my mind forever.
Good times. Well, I definitely wanted to touch on your career playing for Devon County. You were captain for 17 consecutive years. You helped guide the county to the Premier Division in 2010. You had over 200 caps. What are your standout memories from that time?
Oh, my standout memories of darts in its totality is I've won a lot of things in darts, but my lasting memory will always be being re-elected as the captain for Devon, for my beloved Devon, for 16 consecutive seasons, or 16 consecutive times, 17 consecutive seasons. It was just amazing that my people had so much faith in me at the time to be able to select me. When I know how fickle dart players can be, but they knew that I loved Devon, they knew that I lived and breathed the game. I could say that in terms of a personality, I say it as it is. I think about the bush. I tell people what I think. Sometimes I upset them, but at the end of the day, I say what I think. If I'm wrong, I do apologise. But like Ryan said, it's not very often I'm wrong when it comes to darts, anyway. So yeah, the lasting memory, like I said, Alex, is definitely being a captain for 17 years. I've won British Gold Cup pairs in 2002 with my partner Chris Hunt. I've won the Railway Club's national singles in Glasgow in 2003. I won the Kent Open in 2004. I won the Isle of Wight Open in 2005. I won the Bulgarian Open recently, it's 2014, and runner-up in the Italian Masters in 2013. So I've been about, and I've done a fair bit, and it was just about 2014 when I decided to retire from painting. I've been involved since the 1981-82 seasons, 32 consecutive seasons.
Let's get on to your association with one of the top players in the world right now, Ryan Searle. This goes back to, I think, 2009 when Ryan played for the Devon youth team. What were your first impressions of Ryan?
At the time, I'll tell you the quirky little story that I've already said before, but we decided as a selection committee, me, Paul Godbeer and Ian Knight, we were the Devon selection committee, and we decided that we would branch out a bit and start to include some youth into the team. At the time we selected about 5 players, one of which was Ryan, who had impressed the youth team manager, who had then put Ryan forward, a bit like football really. This lad looks like he's going to be good, so we said, okay, we'll take you on, and not just take you on your word. We had some stats as well. We'd had a 28 and a 29 average playing at the time for Devon youth, which is sort of even sort of unknown now, really. You get the odd player stick out and get a big average, but Ryan did 2 games on the trot. Along with a few of the other lads, we invited him into the county squad. We then looked at the Super League records of each player and decided that we picked 4 players. So we picked 4, and I had the unfortunate task, can you believe it or not, I had the unfortunate task of having to tell Ryan that he was the one player that had to set out his first game in a Devon shirt. So he was in reserve. Unbelievable to think where he is now. And here I am telling you a story about when I had to not play him. Unbelievable. So he got his chance, obviously, and very quickly he progressed into the A team. And I'll be absolutely honest about this, and I don't think I'm compromising Ryan at all by saying this, but apparently wasn't his cup of tea. He played because of all his friends. Because of the people, all the friendships he's made. You can imagine Ryan's a lovely chap. Everybody gets on with him. And he enjoys the company of people. He enjoys the company, especially the people that he likes and his friends. So he played counties, basically, not just for me, because I ended up in a close relationship with him, but not just for me, but for others as well. He literally enjoyed the company. Sophie, his partner, went away with him. It was great, before they started the family. It was excellent, and they loved it. He loved going away, but he didn't have his real heart and soul in playing county darts. He had designs on everything, so I'm pretty sure at that stage he was looking at people watching. And I remember him telling me a story about, I went down to the Premier League. My dad took me down, and I said to my dad, I'm going to be up there playing one day. And he's not that far off of that. So then, when as fortune happens, as fortunate things happen, I retired from county darts in 2014. Not specifically, and not because of Ryan's decision not to play, but Ryan decided not to play county darts any longer as well. And at the same time, he said, well, I think I might give the PDC a go. And I said, well, yeah, at the time he was playing in the BDO, I started following him, going away with him, and I think we went to Manchester, and he played really well in the Gold Cup singles up there. And he eventually lost in the semi-final to Devon, Durant, in a cracking game of darts. I distinctly remember Devon having to take out a 164 on the bow to beat Ryan in the semi-final. But that was his sort of, he wasn't interested in travelling abroad, he wasn't interested in chasing points for the BDO. And then we had a conversation whereby he said, look, I think I'll have a crack at paying the £250 at the time to enter Hughes, but not to go. Because at the time you could enter Hughes, not go, and you would be able to play then for the challenge tours, which is how eventually, by coming second in 2016, he got onto the Pro Tour. Now these challenge tours, I don't think I missed one. I went away with him every single one. It was a great time for me. I loved watching him play. I loved seeing the people that he was challenging against. We grew some friendships away as well in the PDC, and I loved that. He loved it, and he was just improving. But Ryan, he ain't like smashed like Rob Cross, and he went on to the scene and World Champion. Ryan's progress has been slightly slower, more methodical, shall I say, but effective, very effective. And everybody's seeing the benefits of that now.
A steady rise for Ryan, hasn't it? You two have forged a close relationship. You've mentored him, as you say, around the BDO events, the Challenge Tour. Now, as a tour card holder, it's been a steady rise for him the last couple of years. He's won 2 Pro Tours. We've just seen him make the final of the Players' Championship finals. He's in the top 16, but I'm sure there's been some lows along the way as well. I'm sure there's been some quiet car journeys home after some tough defeats. What have been the hardest points during this run?
Well, I would say that Ryan is a quick forgetter. And by that I mean, which is a big plus for him, he doesn't dwell on things. He'll be upset on the day that he loses. He's the first one out the door. I've got to chase him like I'm sprinting. He's gone, and he's in the car waiting. We've got to go, and he don't trust my driving, so he would drive up and he would drive back. So he never trusted my driving because he went one day when I drove a minibus. I fell asleep while I was driving, and then when Sophie was sat behind me, worried to death that I was going to crash the minibus. I've argued with that, but anyway, he said that that's the case, so that's up to him. He decided that he's going to drive. He's brilliant as well, He drives and I go to sleep. Anyway, but no, seriously, on a serious note, he didn't like losing, but one of the best things about him being a good winner is he's a good loser. People say, what do you mean a good loser? Well, there's a massive difference between being a good loser and a bad loser. A bad loser to me is a person that gets things well, names everything else but himself. But a good loser puts his hand out, shakes the person's hand. You'll see him now. You'll never see Ryan Searle get a stroke on, ever. He's not that sort of person. And that's what makes him a great winner. Because he just plays the game to the best of his ability. You don't try to put other people off. You don't try any gamesmanship. I can remember on the Challenge Tour playing a person that everybody knows called Richard Burnett, and he is absolutely impossible to play. He kicks his legs and slowly walks up to the board, strolls back, talking and bending the rear as he's going past you, all sorts of things to try and put you off. And it's unfortunate, really, that you've got some players like it, but they're like it, absolutely like it. I know he did it to Ryan once on a Challenge Tour, and it cost Ryan the game, you know. But Ryan didn't realise what was happening because he's so innocent about not wanting to put other people off. All he wanted to do is stand up there and play darts. One thing everybody will tell you on the PDC circuit, Ryan Searle is the biggest. Everybody talks about Merv King being a practicer. Merv King never practices anywhere like what Ryan does. When he was on the Challenge Tour and when he was on the Pro Tour, Ryan used to play his game. Let's start at the beginning. We'd walk in the venue, I'd find a table, I'd sit down, he'd be at the board practicing. And he would practice every single minute of the day until he had to play. He would go to the board and play, he'd finish his game, he'd come off, where would he be? He wouldn't sit down and have a rest, he'd be practicing. And he'd practice, and I'm telling you, I've never seen anybody practice as much as he practices. Unbelievable. It's just, and he's got to be a pretty fit chap to do that, because people not say that darts is not a physical sport. It is. It's predominantly a mental sport, but it's also a physical sport. You know, the fitter people. When I look at Petersen now, Petersen must be now thinking, cool, man, I'm glad I lost all that weight, because it makes a difference to my game. I'm pretty certain of that. I know that myself. As a dart player, I played for years as a trim person, and as I've got older, I've put weight on, and it's taken its toll on me as a dart player, and I know it has. I mean, I'm not doing any more about it, nothing about it now, but you know what I'm saying, Alex, is darts is predominantly played in your head, but there are the physical elements to it. And anyway, Ryan just loved playing darts, standing up and playing darts, right to, I mean, I don't know if you want me to talk about, even as recent as in the last 6 months, I mean, Gary Anderson wasn't telling the tale when he was saying that he was having Ryan up for practice. He had Ryan up for practices on 2 or 3 occasions, and then Ryan contacted me and said, look, you know, we can't practice the market board ourselves. We can't do the score recording ourselves. It's not, it's false. It puts us off, you know. It's not proper practice. So would you like to come up and do the score recording? So I've been up there 4 or 5 times, and we go up there and we get right on the board. We have a debrief after every couple of sets. We play best of 11 sets. I'm saying we because I'm a part of it. You know, we're all involved in it. It's great. You know, we say, you know, I sort of said, and here's me. I've got Gary Anderson, the 2 times world champion. Got more ability in his little finger and more know-how and more past experience. And he's saying, oh, I think you're improving there, Gary. Not to keep, shut up, Gary, shut up. But I can't help it. You know, I can't help get myself wrapped into it, you know. And it's very close games. I mean, Ryan's pushing Gary. I mean, I've got to admit, one thing that's on Ryan's CV, that's not on Ryan's CV, that really ought to be on his CV, and he knows that, is a 9-dar. He's never ever done a 9-dar. He's done it, PDC 9-dar. Not just a PDC 9-dar, but then a live on telly PDC 9-dar. So those things are 2 things that are on his CV. They're not the top of his list, man, the top of his list is winning a game of darts, but he wants to hit a 9-dart. He's hit a 9-dart in a match a couple of times, to the best of my knowledge, locally, you know. But it's not his, even though he's a massive scorer, 9-darters aren't at the top of his list, although they are on his list. He'd love to say, oh, well, I've done it, you know. But the practice sessions they have up there, unbelievable. I got a free ticket to watch two of the best players in the world, and that's the way I see it. I love it. I love every minute of it.
Happy days. Well, lastly, before we let you go, Trevor, we want to bring it forward to the World Championship. Ryan got through the first round. We don't know who he's going to play in his next round, but how far do you think he can go at Ali Pali?
I'm not going to tempt. I have put a bet on him, right? But I'll just say that it was a few months ago I put a bet on him. You know, it wasn't jumping on what he did at the Player Championship. But I think that Ryan's game now is far in advance of anything that ever I was involved in. I've not been with Ryan, not been away with Ryan. I'm still, I play his house and I take the kids straight sweets, and I've had a lovely photograph as a Christmas present from him. I know it's a photograph. I haven't opened it yet, but I know it's a photograph because it was, the shape of it, that. And they do tend to give me a nice photograph of the family or something. Because I love that sort of thing. I love Amelia and Connor. There are a couple of things I want to say. One is, Ryan wouldn't be Ryan without Sophie, and he'll admit that. That's his partner. She's an unbelievable, hard-working person. Hard-working by that, I mean, hard-working with Ryan. I mean, she's got her parents who put out duties and all that, She's got 2 kids to look after, but she lives and breathes Ryan. She does all these travel and accommodation and all that sort of thing for him. So she's sort of working for Ryan, if you like. But she's just like his cellmate. And she's there, and she won't have anything said against him, or she's 100% behind him. So that's important from a dart playing perspective. That's important to know. You've got that backdrop of having somebody there that's got your back, And the other thing I wanted to say was, it's a bit of a sad note, but I want to sort of attribute this podcast to a friend who we all know in Devon. Unfortunately, he passed away yesterday. He's called Gavin Armstrong, and I'd just like to pay a tribute to Gavin. Unfortunately, he's no longer with us, and I just feel that a lot of us are shocked because he died in very strange circumstances, and that's what I'd like to say about that. And they're all very sad people at the moment, thinking about Gavin. I don't know if you could include that on the podcast or not, but I'd like you to if you could,
No, I think that's a nice touch, and we send our condolences to everyone involved in that. And Trevor, just want to say it's been a pleasure to have you on the show. We've wanted to have you on for a while to talk about yourself and obviously talk about Ryan Searle's rise to where he is now. So we wish you all the best for Christmas and the new year, and of course we wish Ryan all the best in his bid at Ali Pali.
Just one more thing, he's 25 to 1. Put your shirt on him.
Thanks again to Trevor for joining us, and it wouldn't be a World Championship show without some predictions. We predicted our winner and runner-up pre-tournament, but let's be brave and now predict which 8 players we think are going to contest the quarterfinals on New Year's Day. Who are you going for?
Well, all my quarterfinals are still in since I didn't pick a quarterfinal to begin with. But we did on the show pick our 2 finalists, and both of mine are still in. And I'm going to stick true to them. So starting on that top half, I'm going to keep Gerwyn Price there, and I'm going to stay with Gerwyn Price as my champion. Obviously, as of the time of recording, we don't know if there's going to be any COVID restrictions that come into place after Christmas. Boris Johnson said there won't be anything before Christmas, but there's the possibility that there will be COVID restrictions, and possibly the tournament will have to conclude behind closed doors. We don't know as of the time of recording. That, I think, will help Gerwyn, but I don't think he needs it behind closed doors. He's already won multiple majors in front of a crowd, never won the Worlds in front of a crowd. But I think this year will be the year of obviously if it's behind closed door, he won't win it in front of a crowd. But if it is, this will be the year that he does. And I think he's winning it regardless whether there is a crowd or not. So I'm sticking with him, and I'm going to go with him beating Johnny Clayton in the quarterfinals. I mean, Michael Smith looked really good, but so did Johnny Clayton. I think Johnny's just playing so well right now that even if Michael Smith throws in a 106 at him, Johnny Clayton will find a way to win the match, possibly like 4-1. Michael Smith might have to up his game from that 106 to threaten Johnny. That's how well the Ferret has been playing for, over a year now. Wide open quarter. All my dark horses are still in. Well, not all of them, because some of them already lost since I had everyone as my dark horse. But I said it earlier on, I don't think James Wade is going to the semifinals. I don't think he's going to the quarterfinals because I'm tipping Joe Cullen to get past Wade, but I'm not picking Cullen to get to the semifinal. I'm going Florian Hempel. I've just been so impressed with him for the last 6 months, and what he did to Dimitri Vandenberg in that match, his finishing those last 2 sets, he not just the double, but those 2 dart combinations, just every single leg had an 84 or 100 or a 90, and you just knew he was going to hit it because he was playing that well. And I don't think he's going to regress that much. And even if he does, he'll figure out a way, like he did against Martin Schindler, to win despite not playing his best. I think this is Florian Hempel's tournament. I think he gets not just to the quarterfinals, but I think he beats Joe Cullen and makes the semifinals. Bottom half, I'll go a little quicker. I've been really impressed with Callan Ritz, but I cannot go against my pick of from before the tournament of Jose de Salsa to make the final. So I'm obviously keeping him in the quarterfinal. I think I originally said Peter Wright, but I'm going to change it. I'm going to go Ryan Searle now to get through to that quarterfinal. And in the bottom quarter, I'm going to go Michael Van Gerwen against, is it an appreciation minute? Yes, it is. I think Rob Potts will get back to the quarterfinal, but Michael Van Gerwen will get his revenge on 4 years ago and knock out the appreciation minute at the quarterfinal stage.
Well, we've definitely jinxed 3 players then, because 3 of my picks are exactly the same as yours. I'll start from the top like you did as well and go back a week or so ago now. Seems a long time, but we were both predicting Going Price to retain the title, and it's a great point that you make about the potential restrictions that we might have. We might have just seen the last game of these championships played in front of a crowd. Fingers crossed that's not the case, but you can never rule anything out these days. But yeah, I'm sticking with Going Price to get through to the quarterfinals. This is where I'm starting to change my picks, Stu, though, because I think it's going to be Michael Smith who gets to the quarterfinals. I think he's going to play Johnny Clayton in the last 16, and I think that could be an absolute cracker. But I'm fancying Michael Smith to get the job done in that one. So yeah, I've got Price and Michael Smith working further down the draw. And again, I'm going 2 different ones to you. I've got to say, like you said, Florian Hempel was so impressive in that game against Dimitri. But I'm going to go with the 2 old timers, if you like, the 2 that have met 53 times in the past before, but they've never met in a World Championship. And I was chatting to Andrew Sinclair inside the WDF the other day. I said I'd love to see a quarterfinal on New Year's Day between James Wade and Mervyn King for the first of 5 sets to get to a semi-final. Would be great viewing. So I'm not going to stick with the new guys. I'm going to go with the old guys. I'm going to go with James Wade against Mervyn King in that second quarter of the draw. Working my way down, though, this is where I'm going to start to see some new faces come through. And like you, I've got Ryan Searle getting through that section of the draw that he's in. I think we all know that all 4 of those players could really produce something special in their next games, 100 averages easily. And I think that's where we see Ryan Searle do it. So I'm going Ryan Searle to get through. And speaking of 100 averages, I think we're going to see some more magic from Callum Ritz. I think he's going to get to the quarterfinals and play Ryan Searle in that section of the draw. And then bottom quarter of the draw, I'm not going with the green man. I'm going against him. I'm going with Luke Humphreys to get through to the quarterfinals. I've just got a feeling that this could be the year that we see Luke do some damage, and he's going to have to do some damage, isn't he? Because he's playing Dave Chisnell, then either Michael Van Gerwen or Chris Dobie. I'm not quite sure who I'm going to lean towards on that one at the moment, but either way, I've got Luke coming through to the quarterfinals, where, like you, we started with a Rob Cross appreciation minute and we're going to finish with one. I'm going with Rob Cross to get through that bottom bit of the draw, get past either Gary Anderson or Ian White in the last 16 after he's got past the handicapper's nightmare. And we'll see Rob Cross contesting the quarterfinals once again on New Year's Day. So, yeah, that's my quarterfinal lineup.
Good to see the handicapper's nightmare get his nickname back. But anything else for this week?
As always, have to say a big thank you to our guests Raymond and Trevor for joining us, and best of luck to Raymond and all 32 players left in the field contesting for that trophy next week and the following week at Ali Pali. Most importantly of all, a message to our listeners as well. This will be our last show before Christmas, so I hope you all have a nice Christmas with your friends and family. And to all the team here, to you, Burton, Hannah, Matthew, hope you enjoy your holidays, and we're looking forward to enjoying the darts, and we'll be back hopefully between the fourth round and the quarterfinals to look at how badly our quarterfinal predicted lineups did and make new predictions for how the rest of the tournament's going to go. But looking forward to that, and as always say, enjoy the darts.
Yes, there's nothing better than recording a show on New Year's Eve to have to make new picks and watch our new picks all lose to start our year off poorly. That's the plan that we have right now. Just echoing everything, Alex, you just said there. Thanks to everyone for all your support this year, and I hope everyone has as good a Christmas as you can, if not even better. You'll have to hang tight for a few days because right now it's just friends and family, but the real important stuff, the darts, gets back in a few days, and then you can let loose again. Merry Christmas, everyone, and hang tight for just a few more days.